This is Group 33 and welcome to our presentation on leadership. First, allow me to introduce our group members, Jane, Megan, Iris, Vivian, and Juan. Firstly, I will identify what leadership is and explain why it is important. Megan will give an overview of the three main leadership theories. Situational theory has been chosen as our main theory, which will be further explored by Iris, who will present the empirical evidence, and Vivian, who will analyze the case study or pessimist. Lastly, Juan Hong will conclude the presentation. So what is a leadership? Leadership refers to the ability of a person to unite the work of individuals to achieve a shared goal without the presence of formal authority or persuasion. A leader is effectively an agent of change who set a new vision or goal and persuades their followers to embrace the desired change and strive towards accomplishing it. The reason why leadership is important is to set clear, challenge, and meaningful goals and expectations that are attainable and aligned with the organization in order to achieve the overall organizational objective, motivates people towards goal attainment, and rewarding people accordingly for their performance to maintain the commitment, improve quality, efficiency, and effectiveness by identifying the potential of others and developing the potential and undertaking corrective actions when necessary to ensure optimal performance, strives the group towards its objective through conveying confidence in providing challenges.
There are three key theoretical approaches that provide a greater understanding into leadership. The following approaches include trait, behavioral, and contingency. Trait theory is the idea that a leader is born and not made. In other words, it focuses on the idea that an effective leader will possess certain innate qualities, characteristics, or personality traits. The following are the limitations. It involves personal observations or subjective self-reporting, which are both subjective in nature. It can therefore result in observer bias and other forms of inaccuracy. Traits also fail to predict behavior in every situation, and the unique traits exhibited by successful leaders vary widely. These factors led to the development of the behavioral approach, which was a shift away from traits to focusing on leadership tasks and skills. In contrast to the trait approach, the behavioral approach assumes that leadership capability can be learned and developed, rather than being inherent. It focuses on analyzing the various sets of behaviors and actions demonstrated by successful leaders. The following are the limitations. There is a lack of knowledge surrounding how this theory can be utilized in different cultural contexts, since behavior may not be universal. Simply learning what practices and behaviors will make a successful leader does not mean that they will be able to exhibit these behaviors. It also does not explain why some leaders are more effective than others in certain situations. The contingency approach focuses on finding the ideal match between the leader's style and the context of the situation. The leader's effectiveness will be dependent upon the demands imposed by a situation, including subordinate, task, and/or group variables. The following are the advantages. The theory is grounded in empirical research and is proven to be a valid and reliable approach in achieving effective leadership. It acknowledges that not all leaders will perform equally in all situations. It therefore considers what situation is optimal based on the leader's style to improve effectiveness. Data derived about leadership styles can be used to assist organizations with developing leadership profiles useful for human resource planning. A limitation is that identification of certain aspects of a situation can be highly subjective and may not accurately depict the context of the leader's situation. There are two empirical studies that I will be discussing in relation to the situational approach, including House's path goal theory and Fiedler's contingency theory. According to Robert J. House's path goal theory, a leader's effectiveness and particular leadership style will be dependent on the situation, including employee characteristics and environmental contingency factors. This leadership theory has four leadership styles. Directive leadership is when the leaders are task-oriented, including providing specific direction and assigning tasks. This style will be more effective when the task is ambiguous and unstructured. Supportive leadership is people-oriented, where more concern is for the group's well-being. This style should be used when subordinates lack confidence. Participative leadership is when the leaders share information with the group and allows the group to make decisions. This style should be adopted when the task is unstructured and subordinates have an idea about how to structure the task or there are disputes about the reward system. The last is achievement-oriented leadership, which refers to setting challenging goals for the group and expecting high performance. This style should be used when there is a lack of subordinate motivation due to goals not being challenging enough. House views leaders as those who assist the group members in achieving their goals by clarifying the paths to goals and removing obstacles. A leader will be more effective in enhancing the work performance and satisfaction of their subordinates if they engage in behaviours that complement the subordinates' environment, abilities, and goals. Fiedler's contingency theory emphasizes two styles of leadership, task and people-oriented styles. There are three situational variables that influence the effectiveness of the leadership styles, including relationship between leader-member, which refers to the level of trust the subordinates have in the leader, task structure, and leader's position of power, which is the amount of authority a leader has over their subordinates, and implementation of rewards and punishments. Fiedler believes that leadership style is fixed and can be measured using a scale he developed known as the least preferred co-worker scale, as depicted in the illustration. The scale asks employees to think of one person that they had the most difficulty working together with, and then rate from a scale of 1 to 8 about how they feel towards that person. The following scores are then added together. A low or harsh score are more likely to be task-oriented leaders, and a high or lenient score tend to be people-oriented leaders. The following table depicts the situation in which leaders would be most effective based on the situation. A favourable situation is identified as good leader-member relations, structured tasks, and strong power over the team, and vice versa for an unfavourable situation. In broad terms, a task-oriented leadership style is more effective for very favourable or unfavourable situations, whereas people-oriented style is more effective in moderately favourable or unfavourable situations.
The situational approach determines that there is no one best style of leadership to cover every possible situation. It therefore encourages the leader to modify different leadership styles to match the situation they're dealing with. A case study that inhabits this is Passamit. Passamit is a former women college basketball head coach who now services as the head coach of University of Tennessee's lady basketball team. Her achievements are really impressive, with at least 1,000 wins, which is the most wins for any female basketball coach in NCAA or NAIA history. She also placed 11th in the 50 greatest coach of all time across all sports, and is the only female to make that list. Passamit is a successful leader in the sports field, and a key factor for her success is that she applies situational leadership to her coaching for team building. Some of her key coaching principles are as follows. Firstly, that she is just a coach and this is not her role to control everything and everybody. In other words, she can only provide her team with valuable information to be successful, but she cannot dedicate how they play during the game. She teaches her team about situational learning by encouraging them to make independent judgments depends on the situation they face. The second key principle is to leverage the failure for growth. Submit does not feel ashamed of her team when communicating their weak points. She believes that by facing the weakness head on, it will help overcome the challenges. She intends to solve the issue for her team on an individual member basis, as she acknowledged that there is not a perfect solution to fit hundreds of different questions. It is therefore important for her to spend time talking with each individual members to reduce misunderstandings in the issue that arise, and to develop a level of trust between her members. Lastly, she sets different goals for each team member in order to be able to mold a group of players with various levels of emotional maturity. She acknowledged that the members develop their skills at various speeds and therefore believes it will be more appropriate to set goals for each individual team member rather than setting a common goal for the whole team. In conclusion, we have discussed the importance of leadership and briefly outlined three leadership theories: trend, behavior, and contingency. Situational theory, which was chosen as our main theory, was explored further through empirical studies of Brough and Fiedler, and the case study of Passamit. Situational leadership should be adopted by organizations since it has been proven to be a valid approach in achieving effective leadership, which is necessary in achieving organizational goals. It acknowledges that there is no best leadership style to deal with every situation, and therefore encourages the leader to adopt the best style of leadership depending on context in order to maximize the worker performance, motivation, and satisfaction, as well as overcome any challenge that are faced. However, organization has to be aware that situational theory is more of a management technique rather than a leadership style. Identification of aspects of a situation is highly subjective and depending on many uncertain factors. Therefore, leaders should be cautious when making an assessment of situational since misdiagnosis can result in an organization not fulfilling its goals and a loss of leader credibility.